All right, inspired family. We're starting our goals class a little early because one of the benefits we notice as we're doing this through as a team is the most powerful part about what you're doing here is the reflection. And watching this not live, but watching this once it's been posted, you can pause what I'm saying and reflect as long as you need to, and then come back. And I think you're going to get the most benefit out of it. So this class is all about setting goals. And really, I almost hate to say goals. I'm really focusing on habits, creating the habits. It's been years and years and years. I've been helping people set goals and focus on their health and making change, and we start picking up on what works and then what doesn't, and there's threads or there's common themes as far as why a person has success and sustains it versus why a person does really well for a short window of time, like a few weeks or a few months, and then fizzles out, and then why a person just stinks it up from the get-go. So there's all of those things, but what we're finding is it's not necessarily the person as much as is their approach as far as why they're successful. And what I find is so many people are really, really committed to the discipline of just making yourself do it and making yourself stay committed, and they don't give themselves enough margin and they fail from that. And it's not that goal setting is failing them or that they're failing them. It's just maybe their expectations or their focus is a little bit off. And what you're going to find through this is the people that really are successful over the long haul, what I found is their most successful habit is their follow-up, is that they take time throughout their goal, whether it be or throughout their habit, whether it be once a month, every couple of weeks, that they stop and they reflect on how is this going? How am I doing? And they authentically look at the situation and say, what's needed? And that person has sustainability. And last year was the first year I set goals in January, and I'm still focusing on them here in December. And we do this every year, but usually it's like do really well through January and then maybe even into February. Then by March, you're not really focused on it, or you're doing something different. So I want to share with you, well, what's the difference there? And how do we have this sustainability? And the same thing with our team. We're seeing them stick with goals and stick with habits longer stretches because of how they plan and approach. So in your comments here, if you go into the comments, there should be a link, and I'm going to post it again just to make sure it's there. There should be a link to the paperwork. And this is the important part, is that you're thinking through and writing down what matters to you. So there should be a link to there. You can go to that and print it off. If you don't print it off, you can just scratch down on paper. But the paperwork is just more guided content. So that's what we want to focus on there. So I'm going to walk you through what that is and how that happens. But I think always having the right mindset. And so for me, one of my favorite quotes is right here by Matthew Kelly. Our lives change when our habits change. Our lives change when our habits change. And so creating a goal that you're going to bail on in 3 weeks, when I'm setting a goal, usually my mentality is, how can I push hard and then stop doing that thing at the end of the time period? That's a goal to me. To me, a habit is, how do I create something that blesses my life, that just becomes second nature, that I don't have to put a lot of time and thought and energy into, that makes life better? And so really, when you're setting goals, ideally, I think what's most helpful is you're actually changing habits for the better, and habits that you want, things that bring more freedom or health or ability or make your life better. And that's based off of what you think is better. And so our lives change when our habits change. And so that's where we want to start. Now, when you print off the paperwork, the first sheet you're going to see is there's a sheet on reflecting. And so it says 2020 reflection sheet. That's what you're going to see there. And what you want to do with that is you want to take that sheet, and there's 2 columns. There's a column on the left and a column on the right, and it says, and so here's an example of one of mine. And so it says good things versus the challenges. And on there, what you want to write down is you take time and you reflect, what were the good things, the things that worked in 2020, and start writing those down. And then in the next column, what didn't work in 2020. So right now, if you're listening to this and it's not live, take a time out, pause it, and do that part. Think through what worked, write it down, what didn't work, write it down. Then come back. Okay, now that you've had a chance to do that, what we want to do is you want to read, just read through, what did I reflect on? And then right below there, it says, what are the lessons that I learned? What did you learn from your successes and your failures? Because you learn from both, and usually you learn more from failure. So what did you learn? And then who are the people that I'm grateful for through all of that? Okay, so this will be useful later on. So we want to have this sheet filled out of the good things, the bad things, then what did you learn? Because we're going to pull what you learned into your goals. Okay, so then from there, The next sheet that we're going to look at is we're going to look at what's called a life evaluation sheet. And so this is the sheet with a whole bunch of boxes on it, life evaluation. That's what we call it. And so on this sheet here, what I want you to do is take time, and each square is a section of life. So for example, health, friends, family. So the first one we did was the reflection. The next one we do is life evaluation. So health, friends, family, spouse, finances, spiritual, work. And on this sheet, what I want you to do is just take each box individually and say, okay, in health, circle on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest or the best, 1 is pretty terrible. How am I doing? How am I doing in health? Let me just be honest with that. And then in the box, write the positives and the negatives to your health. Here's what's really positive. I'm really good about this habit, this rhythm, this routine. Here's where I'm really struggling or things aren't going very well. Write the positives and the negatives and fill that out. Once you've done that with health, go through each box. Health, friends, family, spouse, finances. It doesn't have to take you a long time, but the reflection time is really important. So if you're listening to this and it's recorded already, take a time out, fill those out, and then come back and listen in. Okay? So now you've done your life evaluation. You've got this filled out. You're thinking about what's important to you, what's going well, what's not. Inside here, circle. Now what I want you to do is just take the area that really stands out to you when you think about, what do I really want to see to change? Because it may be like, my friendships are not great, but I don't really care to put a lot of energy into that right now. My health is doing terrible. I really want to see that do well. Or maybe it's like, my health is so-so, but that's not really what I want to change right now. That's not what I'm motivated to put energy into. What's the one that you're really like, I know that needs to change, or I know that can get better, and I'm motivated to put energy into it. That's important. Start there. So I would circle the one, whether it be spiritual growth, work, recreation, friends, health. For a lot of people, it's health, but circle the one that you really want to focus on, and then we're going to come back to this. Okay. Now, the next thing that we're looking at, the next sheet, and again, this is really helpful if you take time and you're reflective and you're doing the work. If you're just trying to like fly through it, it's probably not the most helpful thing, but the time reflecting, I think, is what's most powerful when you're setting these goals and creating these habits. So the next thing we're looking at is this sheet that is 2021 ideas. And so this should look like this. Hopefully it prints off accurately. When you look at the PDF, look at that if it didn't print off right. So you kind of know what you're looking at, but 2021 ideas. And right here is a really important time for you to brainstorm, where you're just saying, what do I want to see happen this next year? If you could dream big, where do I really want to see life change? I'd like to see this level of success in my health. If I could do these things, or have this ability, or have this part of life in health, or with friends, or with my spouse, or with my work, just start writing things down and let it, like if there were 0 chances of failure, what would you write down there? And just start writing down what comes to mind. So dream big. What do you want to see change and improve? Okay. So take a time out, pause the video, go do that, and then come back. Okay. Great. So now you're coming back, you've got your dream bigs there. On the bottom of this, what I'd like you to see is it says, look for threads. On the bottom of this sheet here, it should say 2021 ideas. Look for threads. What are the themes that keep popping up? What matters to you? Circle those. And so if you're, oh, this is the theme, this is the thing in health that just keeps coming to my mind when I do the boxes, exercise, that keeps coming to my mind of something that I really want to see change, or that it's not going well, but I want it to. This thing in my relationship, that keeps coming up. What keeps coming to mind? And you're trying to find a common thread, because if you find a common thread, what you find is the thing that you really desire changing or working at. And because of that, you'll stick with it and you'll have much more success. So circle those common threads. That's what you want to have there in those 2020 ideas. And now here's the thing though. If you start circling a thread, there are some things that are tangible and there are some things that aren't. So here's an example. I want to be healthier. Okay, that's yes, that's important, but that's not really something that is easy to create a habit or a goal with, even though you may want, that may actually be what you want. So that's something that you would reflect on. So maybe your action step is every week or every month, I reflect back on, am I becoming a healthier person? So you think about that, but there's no like, I checked the box because I did that. Now, if you say, I want to be healthier, and you're going to reflect on that once a month or once a week, but you say, and here's how: I want to get 5 servings of vegetables in every day. I want to exercise 3 times a week. I want to stop eating sugar or eat healthier fats or whatever it is your health habit. That's more tangible. That's more trackable. So that's something that you could track on a daily basis or weekly basis or a monthly basis. And that's more user friendly. So if you're circling a thread, you want to identify, is this tangible or is it not? Is it reflective or is it action and behavior? Okay. So you've got your threads there. Sound good? If at any point you feel like we're moving a little quick, just pause this, go back, take time to think. Okay, this is, and sometimes it helps to kind of work through this quickly and then come back and work through it again and really dive into the thought process. Because for me, the first thing that comes to mind is usually the thing that's most necessary or most helpful, but for other people, they really need to process. And so how you process is okay. It doesn't matter. Neither is right or wrong, but just take into account your own personality. Okay. So now we've done the ideas. And so so now what you have is here's what worked in 2020. Here's the area of my life that I know that I want to work on. When I dream, when I think about success, or when I think about advancing, or really when I think about the best version of me, here's what I think about. Here's what I'd like to see happen. Okay, you have that through your ideas. That's the threads that you're circling. Okay. Now we take those things that are very personal to you, and now we create a plan that is also very personal to you. And so what you look at here with your plan is, what you're going to look at next is this sheet right here that says your action plan. Okay. And in this sheet, again, it's a little bit more reflective. The first thing you want to see is it says big picture goal. And for me, what I want to understand is, why is this so important? What am I seeing here? So for example, a patient might say, I really want to lose weight and have more energy. Okay, what's the big picture goal there? The big picture goal is, I don't hurt. I'm not as crabby with coworkers or with family members, or I have more energy to give to kids or grandkids. I have the ability to vacation and travel, and my ability and my future is better or more. It's more realistic. That big picture goal is, I want to have the flexibility or the freedom to be doing things I love and with people I love decades down the road. That's big picture goal. That's like the real root heart of the reason why this is important to you. And if you can understand that and write it out and come back to it, that's going to help you when you say, oh, I'm not motivated. No, it's not that you're not motivated. You're not thinking about the big picture goal. And so here's an example of what a big picture goal might look like. So for me, and I'm not trying to give you too many examples because I don't want to affect your thinking, but for me, I want to be married for 75 years. And so that means my wife and I both have to live to be 98 to make 75 years. I want to have 75 years of really good of a great marriage. And I figured we'll figure it out as we go, and we are. And we struggle and we succeed, but 75 years together. And at our 75th wedding anniversary, I want to be able to race the great grandkids. I want to have a big party and a big get together. And I envision us being at a park somewhere. I envision warm weather and green grass, which is weird because we got married in December, so we might have to travel somewhere if we want warm. But I envision warm weather, green grass, grill out, like barbecue style, like picnic thing. And I imagine there being all of the toddlers, like 2, 3, 4-year-old children in a line, and me, and we're racing to like a string finish line. And I can imagine what it's like to run and chase those kids, or race with those kids and beat them across the finish line. So in my brain, I'm winning at 98 years old. I'm beating them in a foot race. So when I'm setting a health goal, I want to have the ability to mentally laugh and make jokes and enjoy that situation, but physically be able to run and be at that speed. So when I look at young kids, I got to think, okay, how fast are they? What do I have to do to be able to stay that fast? You know what I'm saying? Like, so all those things come into play. So one goal that I have, what does it take to get me there? Okay, those things, getting adjusted, doing my home care, eating healthy, exercising, stretching, and staying flexible, all of those things move me towards that goal becoming a reality. And so they're easier to stick with because I still envision what it's like to do that. So for you, I want you to write out that big picture goal. How does this add value? And then the why, like, why is that important to you? Like, to me, that's important because family and relationship is important. Health, mental ability, physical ability. If I'm 90 years old and I can do that, that means that I've had a lifetime where I can be around friends and family, where I can add value, where I can be taking care of patients, that I have done a lot of good things if I have that level of health at 98 years old. And that matters to me. And so if your big picture goal has meaning to you, then it's a lot easier to stick with. So take a time out, start working on the big picture goal. Start writing out, okay, here's what I want to see happen. Here's what it looks like. Just dream, put in, here's what the weather feels like. Here's my emotion. Here's the smiles. Here's how I'm laughing. Like, hear laughter, feel warmth, feel the grass on your feet. Okay, I'm watching out for gopher holes so I don't step in one. Like, make it more real, and it's going to be more motivating as well. Okay, so take a time out, do that, then come back. Okay. So now you have your big picture goal, and you have your why, and you're seeing where you're trying to go. Okay. And you've taken your area of, whether it be your health, your relationships, your marriage, your finances, you're taking the area that you want to work on with this big picture goal in mind. And now you get to the how. So we're still in the action plan page. So now we get to how. What does progress look like? If you're at where you're at now, where are you trying to get to? What does progress look like? Okay. So for one person, progress is, well, I start eating more vegetables in a day. For one person, it's I lose this many pounds. For one person, it's like I go to bed at this, I have this level of energy. I have this level of relationship, right? What does progress look like? Okay, so now you're thinking through progress. And then from there, what are the steps that are going to get you there? What are the starting steps? Small, specific steps. So now here's the habit that you'll stick with. So for an example is, I want to read for 5 minutes every day. I'm just going to throw out some examples. A person wants to go to bed at 9:30 at night every night, so they have energy every single day because their goal is energy. Person wants to be developing as a human being. They want to develop their relationships. They're going to read on topics that they're trying to develop, right? Because of their goal. A person wants to lose weight, so they're saying, I'm going to eat this many servings of vegetables, and I'm going to only eat this many meals throughout a week. If there's 3 meals a day, 21 meals in a week, my goal is to eat 18 meals. That's what I get, 18 meals. I'm just throwing out an idea because I'm trying to get to this weight. And then that might be one side of it. And the other side is, but I also want to exercise 3 times or 4 times every single week, right? So you have your action steps that would create the result. So what are the steps that will create the result? Okay, so I want you to think through that. What steps will create that result? And sometimes when you get those ideas or those goals that are really important to you, but there's not a great action step, then the goal is, I'm taking time to reflect on how I'm doing as a husband, how I'm doing as a Christian, how I'm doing as an area that's harder to be tangible. I'm taking time to reflect, okay? So take a minute, fill out the how, what does progress look like, and then the starting steps. What would the starting steps be? Okay, so take a time out, do that, come back. All right, now you got that part done. The next part is so crucial. So this is the stuff. It's so important, but most people won't do it. But once you start thinking about it, you actually will do it, and then you do, and then you're successful, and that momentum carries on. So having the big picture goal, having the how, and then the actual starting steps. Now here's one that's crucial. When are you doing it? If you're doing it when I think about it, you're done. It's just not going to stick. A specific time. So I exercise Tuesday mornings at 9 o'clock in my basement. That's when I lift weights. I know that. Saturday mornings, I'm either going to go play basketball or I'm going to work out in my basement. And I'm going to do that at 6 a.m. I know the day, the time, and the place. So the Saturday for me is a little bit more flexible, but I know I'm going to be Tuesday and Saturday, and I hit those every single week, even the busiest weeks that I have. Okay. So when I'm doing that with my action plan, then I'm in a much better spot. Okay. So when are you doing these action steps? When are you eating healthy? When are you exercising? When are you, whatever it is, when are you reflecting? Well, I reflect on Sunday nights. I'm reflecting at 7 p.m. on how I'm doing as a husband. I don't know, whatever your goal is, when, right? That's very, very important. Okay. So now the next thing that you'll see here is you'll see a yearly overview. So you'll see something that looks like this. Let me get one that's not filled out so much. So a yearly overview. And so this has every month of the year, so January through December. And you're looking at your goal over a period of time. Now, one person might have a goal of, I want to lose 20 pounds, but for how long do you want to lose 20 pounds? Do you want to have it just by the end of January? Do you want to have it by June? I'm down 20 pounds in June. Do I want to be down 40 pounds in December of next year, right? What's the goal? Because sometimes you hit a really important goal and it was 6 weeks and then you bail on it. And then by the end of the year, you're plus 3 pounds. You're like, well, how did I do that? I lost 25 pounds and now I'm plus 3 a year later. Okay. So this will break that down. So your goal, and not all of them you can do this with. So if it's reading 5 minutes a day, it's not like I read, well, I guess you could read 1 minute a day for the first quarter and then 2 minutes a day for the second quarter and then 3 and 4, or the last one you jump to 5. Like you could do it that way, but there's certain ones where you're saying like, my goal is to lose weight. Well, in the first quarter, January, February, March, your goal might be to be down 10 pounds 3 months in, right? And then your goal from April, May, and June might be to be down another 10 pounds. And then your goal in July, August, September might be to sustain. I'm still down the 20 pounds from the beginning of the year. It's not even to lose more weight, but to stabilize that, right? So that's where your goal can change. Now, the other thing that's important when you do the yearly overview, I think it's very important that 1, you're having time to follow up, and 2, you're able to pivot or redirect the goal. Because if you set the goal today and it's December, it can feel like a lot of pressure when you get to March and April and you don't love specifically how the goal is set. Does that make sense? So what I found is here's an example of that. I like doing a daily checklist for about 4 to 6 weeks. Beyond that, it drives me crazy. Okay. So if I'm starting a new habit, I will do a daily checklist for a month. And then at the end of that month, I pull back and I follow up. How is the goal coming? And then I pivot and I say, okay, am I creating a habit? Do I like the habit? Do I want to keep up with this? Is it important to me? Is it helpful? And then number 2, do I want to do it the same way or slightly different? It's like, oh, slightly different. Instead of a daily checklist, maybe there's a weekly reminder or a weekly follow-up. How often do I need how much energy do I need to put in this for this still to work? And can I have a little bit of flexibility to adapt based on what I've learned over the last week or the last month or the last couple of months? Okay. So the yearly overview gives you time to adapt as well. So that's where you can kind of plan out, okay, if I'm doing a longer goal or big goal, I'm chunking it down. I'm doing maybe 25% of it in the first quarter, 25% in the second, et cetera. And you go all the way to the end. Okay. So hopefully that makes pretty good sense to you. So now you take a second, you look at your starting steps from your action plan, and then you go to your yearly overview, and now we're transferring those starting steps to here, and you're saying, what does progress look like? Okay, it's a lot of sheets. Some of these steps, if you can get to the next step without having to do all of the detail, go for it. But it's important that you're seeing that. So the yearly overview, it kind of helps me, but I don't put a lot of energy into that. So take a time out, make sure you have the action steps, look at your yearly calendar, and then come back, write in what you want to see change or how you want to progress, and then come back. Okay. So as you're back and you're looking at your yearly overview, here's a quote: if it's worth doing, it's worth reevaluating. And I think it's really important that we take time to reevaluate, because I don't think people always want to do that. Another quote that you should have with you: if you feel hesitant to set goals, remember this: you were created to grow and change. We are always in progress. Your goals may be the same. As you grow, your goals may shift. As you go through different seasons, your priorities may change. As you learn new lessons and take on new life and responsibilities, your capacity to do different things may change. So as you write out your goals, remember that you don't have to set them for the entire calendar year. You have the freedom to set them for just a season ahead and refresh your goals or pivot every few months We were created for seasons. Your goals don't have to be forever. Okay. And to me, that's helpful because I don't like the pressure of I have to do this forever and ever and ever and ever. Okay. And now what we're going to do is we're doing all of this work. Sorry, I dropped the paper. We're doing all of this work to get to the most important page of everything. Everything you've done right now is getting the thought, flushing it out, finding your threads, and now you're creating the sheet that is going to change everything, or that's going to make things better when applied. Okay. So the next sheet that we're looking at is a sheet called our monthly action items, or our progress sheet. So it looks like this. You'll kind of see this heading up here. Too much light there. Monthly action items progress. So you have your monthly action items. You then below that you have your weekly, and then you have your daily. Okay, so that's what we want to see. So now you're taking your area. So let's say, here's an example. So one of my big changes last year is I wanted to really, I thought what I wanted to do was improve my health, and I do, and that's important to me. But as I was going through this, what I realized is I really want to see my relationships improve, whether it be relationships with patients, with staff, with my wife, with my kids, or with extended family and friends. And so I'll just show you kind of monthly versus weekly versus daily. And so for my monthly action step, my goal was to get together with one friend or family member one weekend a month. So like that might be if they're a family that lives in town, we might just have them over for dinner, or we go to there for dinner. It might be like I have a brother in Minnesota. We might go spend the weekend with him and let the kids play, and just as couples get time to talk together for a day or two. It might be, however it looks. It might be that we go we just spend Christmas together as a family, or not, depending on how this goes. So that was my monthly goal, that we actually got together once a month. One of my other monthly goals, and this is important, so star this or circle this, is write down in your monthly goal, follow up how you're doing. So write that down, follow up how you're doing. Because if every month you stop and you follow up with your goals and your plan and your habits, you're going to be able to pivot and say, how's this going? Do I need to change anything or tweak it just a little bit? And with that follow up, write in parentheses, big picture goal. Because what you want to do is go back to once we're done with all this, you're going to want to be using these monthly, weekly, and daily action sheets. And you're going to want to come back to your action plan with the big picture goal. And so in the follow-up, what you want to do is read what you wrote down for the big picture goal. So now in February 1st, you're reading, what did I write down to start out January? Okay. And then you're looking at, how did I do with my action steps? Does that make sense? Okay. So that's what we're going to come back to. So now you're taking your on your action plan, which is this one here with the big picture goal. On the bottom here, you're taking your starting things. Sorry, I'm giving you a middle finger. Taking your starting steps and your when, and then you're going to transfer it to this sheet so you have an easily trackable sheet. So now we have our monthly goal. So what do you do every month? You follow up, you reassess, you pivot, and then are there certain things you're only doing once a month? Once a month, you do a 2-day fast or a 24-hour fast. Once a month, you do a weekend of no sugar. So you're not doing it every day or every week, but once a month I do no sugar for 3 days, or whatever it may be, a juice fast, a water fast. You exercise 5 straight days once a month. Like, you can set it so it's really a little bit more intense to help you, but only one time. Okay. Then you have your weekly goals. What are the things you're doing consistently throughout the week? You're not doing it every day. So I'm exercising 3 days a week. Okay. How did I do that week? So that's not a daily assessment. That's a weekly assessment. I'm exercising twice a week. How did I do that week? So I'm talking about relationships. One of my things was I have a friend that I wanted to call once a week just to touch base with. He's another doc, and he's a close friend of mine. And so I wanted to make sure I touch base with them regularly to either talk about practice and get perspective as a doctor, or just as a friend, how do I get perspective as a human being? And so now I call him every week. And we started doing that. And now I don't even have to, it's just in our schedules. We're just so used to it. We do it naturally. Oh, it's Mondays at noon. I'm going to give him a call. Like that's just exactly how it goes every single week. It became so habit that we don't even think about it. That's just how we do life. And then your daily things, that might be something you're doing every day. So maybe you're saying, I want 8 glasses of water every day. Okay, you can check the box on that. Maybe that's, I want to read 5 minutes every single day. Check the box on that. So break down your specific parts of your goal or your direction based on monthly, weekly, or daily. Does that make sense there? Okay, so take a time out, do that part. This part is key. You should have on your PDF, your printout, you should have multiple action plans as far as how this is going, because this is the one you'll continue to come back to week in and week out. And I think personally, when you're doing that and you get to the daily action items on the bottom, I think the daily ones are really good for developing the habit, but then you kind of get beyond that. But with your monthly follow-up, for me personally, what I found was work. You just got to have a system of follow-up. What I did was I wrote down the first of the year. So on January 1st, for example, I put in my calendar of my phone all of my goals and what I was focusing on and why. I wrote all that down, and then I put repeat once a month. So on the first of the month, that pulls up, and I make it a priority to sometime in that day sit down and I read through all of those. How am I doing? What did I say I was going to do at the beginning of the year? And I read through those. Do any of these need to be tweaked? Do I want to pivot or shift? How is this looking? And it's slowly changed and adapted over the course of the year, but I've stuck with it, and it's been extremely helpful as far as accomplishing that of the goal and the habits, and then sticking with it. So what you really want to have is a great way to follow up as well. And so I found just the calendar and the phone is the easiest way to do it. If you've got like a written out calendar somewhere else to do it. And I like doing it once a month. Somebody else might do it like every Sunday night or every Monday morning or whatever it is that you like to do. But have a way to follow up. We like to call this list this of the monthly, weekly, and daily action steps. We like to call that attending list, because it's like a garden. It's something that you tend to on a regular basis. You work it a little bit to make it grow, and then you give it a few months. How are we doing? Are we producing fruit? Do we need to do something different? But you look at this every month, every week, whatever it is for you. So make sure you have that written down. So this for us as a team, when we take the time out and we work through every sheet here, and then we circle back, we've found that it has been extremely, extremely helpful for setting goals. So it's a lot of detail, but if you just kind of follow the guidelines and the paperwork and you just take the time to think through it, it can really be helpful. If you have specific questions on this, make sure you email the office or you talk to us as a team. We can help you through it. If you're just saying, hey, does this seem realistic? Does this seem useful? Or if you just need some feedback on something. But I've been filling this out again, and we're getting really excited because I know that it's going to be helpful and useful. And I'm still using my goals from last year. I'm basically saying, is there anything I want to add to that in the same area or a different area of my life? And it just all of a sudden it changes your attitude, because setting goals or creating habits stick. So now the attitude isn't just like, oh, I hate doing that because it never works. It's like, no, this is exciting because I've seen the fruit from this. Where do I want to go with life now? So our lives change when our habits change, and this really helps you develop great habits. So I hope that you can use this to your advantage, that you can just bring out the best in yourself. You can use it to just create peace in your life and margin in your life, and really have a better future. Again, thank you for listening. If you have questions, let us know. Otherwise, we hope to see you in the office.